So, this story about Peter chopping off this ear is in all four Gospels. Although there's different details in each of the Gospels, this is how it's written. And I think it's only in John that we actually know it's Peter that does it. So Matthew, Mark, and Luke, I think, protect the identity of Peter. In Matthew, it says, with that, one of Jesus' companions reached for his sword, drew it out, and struck the servant of the high priest, cutting off his ear. And in the Greek, it's like his ear is cut off and falls to the ground. Put your sword back in its place, Jesus said to him, for all who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you think I cannot call on my Father, and he will at once put at my disposal more than 12 legions of angels? So I got to thinking when I was studying this week, I was like, 12 legions of angels, that sounds impressive. I wonder how many angels that is. So I looked up legion, and that's a Roman term for 6,000 soldiers. So I was like, oh, so 12 legions, 12 times 6,000 equals, accountants, help us out? 72,000. So I was thinking, that doesn't sound like a lot of angels to me at the disposal of Jesus. 72,000 angels. And then the Lord reminded me of a story, if you would turn for a moment without losing John, to 2 Kings chapter 18. A story in the Old Testament. And it's a story with King Hezekiah. So 2 Kings 18. And Hezekiah is king in Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is surrounded by the Assyrian army. They've been conquering all the countries, and now they've come to Jerusalem to wipe them out. And so in 2 Kings 18, we have the story. Verse 17, the king of Assyria sent his supreme commander, his chief official, the field commander with a large army from Lachish to King Hezekiah at Jerusalem. He tells them, you better surrender if you know what's better for you. One of the verses that I cannot read in public is in verse 27, if you want to read it. I can't do it in public because we have people under the age of 18. So they surround in verse 19, the king of Assyria, they're the bad people, he sends Hezekiah a letter. And in verse 10 of chapter 19, say to Hezekiah, king of Judah, do not let the God you depend on deceive you, when he says Jerusalem will not be given into the hands of the king of Assyria. And the letter goes on, I've conquered every other god, and I'll conquer the God of Israel with no problem. Verse 14, Hezekiah received the letter from the messengers and read it. Then he went up to the temple of the Lord and spread it out before the Lord. And Hezekiah prayed to the Lord, Lord, the God of Israel, enthroned between the cherubim, you alone are God over all the kingdoms of the earth. You have made heaven and earth. Give ear, Lord, and hear. Open your eyes, Lord, and see. Listen to the words Sennacherib has sent to ridicule the living God. Well, then Isaiah gives a message from the Lord. I want to pick up in verse 32. This is what the Lord says concerning the king of Assyria. He will not enter this city or shoot an arrow here. He will not come before it with shield or build a siege ramp against it. By the way that he came, he will return. He will not enter this city, declares the Lord. I will defend this city and save it for my sake and for the sake of David, my servant. That night, one angel of the Lord went out and put to death 185,000 in the Assyrian camp. When the people got up the next morning, there were all the dead bodies. So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, broke camp and withdrew. He returned to Nineveh and stayed there. So now, wait a second, we have another piece of information. One angel in an 8-hour nighttime was able to put how many men to death? 185,000. So now I'm thinking, okay, Jesus has at his disposal one of the legions of angels. That's 72,000. So now you have to take 72,000 angels, and each of them can put to death 185,000 in 8 hours. You with me? So I pull out my calculator, and I put in 75,000 angels times 185,000 men each, and my calculator came back not large enough. So I pulled out another calculator that was bigger, and it came back not large enough. So then I decided I'm going to add this by hand. So I put 185,000, 75,000, and then I realized I can't do it anymore. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, how do you do the zeros, pass them down? So I went to my computer, and it was able, let me just tell you, it's way more than the whole population of 8 billion that are on the earth right now, okay? And that's just in 8 hours. So when Jesus says, I got 72,000 angels at my disposal, that's a lot of power.